Hello and welcome to the Pixelated Realms Gamescast, your guide through the digital landscape, untangling the mysteries of your favorite titles and discussing the latest and greatest in video game fun. I'm your host, Alex Salerno. Alongside me is my good friend, Ralph, the one, the only. What's up?
Hey, I'm filling in, sadly, the two others.
This is a treat.
I mean, true, but sadly, the other two couldn't be here. So I'm glad to be. I'm the honorary guest. I love being here. So
Yeah, man, we love having you. Yeah, there's no downside of this. So Dustin is in China right now, and Tyler just recently moved, so he's spending some time moving his stuff from his old place to his new place. So we have the honor of having Ralph. Ralph, where can we find you online?
I'm mostly streaming on Twitch. Haven't been streaming the past week, but just at Ralph Writers. You can also find me in the comment section of this video at Ralph Writer, or actually, I think it's TTV Ralph Writers. But yep, just find me anywhere Pixelated Realms is at. You'll probably find me there.
Awesome. Yeah, we love to have you. And if you guys have been a longtime viewer or listener or wherever, Ralph is the OG question master. He's the one who keeps our Ask section alive, him and Sam. So, we love to have you on. And also, we're coming up with a new video for Delta Force, and Ralph did a lot of the heavy lifting on that. So big shout out to him. So when that finally releases, you can thank Ralph for all the content in that video. He's put a lot of time into that game, and so we're, lucky to have him. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later as well.
I'm embarrassed to say how many hours I have in Delta Force, but all right.
Don't. If I didn't have, like a toddler right now,
Yep.
I'd be right next to you. So I'm jealous is really what it is. That game is fun. But, today we're going to be talking about, we're probably going to talk about a little bit about Delta Force and some of the games that we've been playing. We're going to we're going to answer questions from the community. And then we're going to talk about the latest release or the latest information on the Switch 2, which is very exciting. There's been a lot of speculation. I mean, we've known it's been coming for a long time, but Nintendo has a lot of very strange decisions. So nothing, everything, every leak from them is like taken with a grain of salt because you never know what Nintendo's going to do. They're wild. They're cowboys. They'll do whatever. Like they'll come out and they'll be like, "Oh, you think it was going to be this? No, it's a foot controller." Like they're just weird like that. But so we're going to talk about that. And then a little housekeeping. So we are a small part-time podcast, and we really appreciate everybody's support. So if you could go ahead and give this video a like and or a subscribe, that would do a lot for us, showing your support. We are very small, and we appreciate everybody who listens. And, we want to give you guys the best content and the best quality, just of our time that we can give. The next best way that you can show your support is by going over to pixelatedrealms.org/Patreon. It is free. We do not ask for any monetary commitments, but the reason that we like to have everybody subscribe on our Patreon is because that is where we post updates and announcements and our most recent information and kind of, I would even say like blog posts there. So if you're interested in keeping up to date with everything that Pixelated Realms has going on, pixelatedrealms.org/Patreon is the best place. So we post, if we're skipping a video for a holiday, for instance, that's where you'll find that information. We post polls. We post, all sorts of information on there. Our detailed review rubric is up there. We plan on, as we start to make more videos in the year 2025, I'm going to start posting our behind the scenes notes and documents. So lots of good information there, lots of fun stuff. So I really hope we're making it worth your time. My goal is not to, be wasteful here. So we want to make sure that we got, the best quality stuff. And I'm rambling now, so let's move on. Ralph, what have you been playing?
Well, no surprise here. Delta Force. I can't get enough of it.
Hell yeah.
Operations mode. So Delta Force has multiple modes, right? There's operations mode, where it's the extraction, looter, shooter. And there's also a warfare mode where it's more battlefield. My first season of playing Delta Force, I only played operations mode because I love that extraction life. But I did buy the battle pass for the whole thing. And so hopefully that, makes me want to play the warfare mode too, to utilize some of those rewards that I get from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, very excited to try that. I've also been playing Mario Party Jamboree.
Hell yeah.
I just love party games. I actually had my sisters come over yesterday and, just play Mario Party with their spouses. And my partner, Katie, kicked all of our butts yesterday. She got, in 15 turns, she had 10 stars. So I don't know how
What?
that she cheated. I don't know.
Dude,
but,
there's no way. I've
there's
never
no
heard
way.
of something like that.
That's what I'm saying. And so, I don't know how she did it, but thanks for defending home court. That's, as long as someone in my household wins, I'm okay. I was a
Wow,
little
that's gotta be
salty,
a record.
but because I'm usually the one that's winning, and so having her win, was special for her and whatnot. She posted
You gotta feel
on
happy.
her on her Instagram story and everything like that. So she's like, this never happens. But yeah, other than that, other than Delta Force and Mario Party Jamboree, we've also been playing It Takes Two.
That's such a good game.
I'm trying to get her into more video games, and it seems to be working. She really wants to try Astrobot now.
Yes.
And so I'm getting her a PlayStation Portable. Oh, sorry, Portal.
Portal.
PSP was the old school one.
Yeah.
The Portable was the old school one. So I'm getting her Portal to play Astrobot. Yeah, I'm very excited. So, but those are the 3 games that we're playing. We're kind of stuck on a boss, and It Takes Two. So maybe we just skip that boss, but just go to the next chapter. I've played it before, so I can skip chapters. But she's adamant about playing it. What about you, Alex? What are you playing?
Yeah, so I've been playing Delta Force as well. Not as much. I wish I had more time. And the new season just dropped yesterday. So really excited to jump into that. I cannot wait. And, there's all the changes and stuff like that. I'm going to get the battle pass. I like to play both modes, warfare and operations. I play with you. So I'm excited to play that. It's really scratched a good itch. Honestly, I don't think I've had as much fun in Call of Duty in any of the Call of Duties as I've had in this game, because the multiple modes, for me, being able to switch between them is so satisfying. If I get bored of one, I move on. Where in Call of Duty, DMZ never hit for me. Warzone never hit for me. So I only ever played multiplayer. For me, I really like Call of Duty multiplayer. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that's very fun. But, you play for a month and I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll take a break. I'll take a month break, and then maybe I'll play again for a month. And I'm just kind of like, all right, I got my shooter itch in. But with Delta Force, not only is this the Battlefield style big warfare, which is, fun and you invest into that battle, but you can switch to operation mode. So if I'm not feeling one, I can go to the other. And it really feels, I don't even know, but it just feels good. It just feels really good. And I like playing with you. So that's a bonus. And the campaign is dropping soon. They said it's going to come out mid-season. And I'm really excited for that because I love a good campaign. And it's based off of Black Hawk Down, which is the Somali conflict, and one of my favorite movies of all time. So if they can even get a percentage of how cool that movie was in the game, then boom, I'm super sold. And it's free. I'm blown away. Recommendation: if you don't like the new Call of Duty, play Delta Force. It's free. Great game. And then so been playing that. I beat Astrobot. So I was playing Astrobot with Emily, kind of body double style. So she would sit next to me and we would switch sometimes. And but I played probably most of it. I probably played 80% of it. And then Emily would jump in when she wanted to play. But she just kind of liked to be there and watch and see me playing it. And she would help me and give me tips. And she's like, I think you forgot something over there, which was really fun. But played that. Platinum did, actually. So I 100%ed it. Super fun. I totally get it. I like a really concise game that is just focused and really dedicated to the ideology of what the game is supposed to be. In the acceptance speech for the Game of the Year award, they said something along the lines of it's a love letter to platformers, and I totally agree. It's just so pure. I don't have any other better way to describe it. It's just pure platforming joy, and it's good, and it was super fun. And so I felt the whole time, I never felt bored. Even when I was going through and platinuming it, because sometimes when you go for the platinum, you're have to do the same things over and over. You have to beat the game 3 times or whatever. I never felt that way. I went and I did even the extra content. So they had a holiday DLC and then a time mode, like a speed run mode. And so I went ahead, and neither of those took very long, but they were still very fun and very good content. Highly recommend Astrobot for anybody who just wants a good time. And the whole thing probably took me 20 hours. 25 hours to platinum. So It wasn't that long. And, I obviously went above and beyond, but it's just a good story. And the whole everything being like that PlayStation themed is just so fun because you can see all the characters, and like I like to try and guess because it doesn't tell you what any of the characters are. So probably like 30% of the bots that you rescue are based off of characters within the Sony universe or games. And so, but they don't tell you directly who they are. And so, I mean, some of them are obvious, but like Kratos or, like Nathan Drake from Uncharted or whatever. But some of them are less obvious. And so, like, I'm trying to like test my Sony knowledge, and I'm always like, okay, how good am I? Like, how can I guess? And it's like, I could probably get like 80 to 90% of them, even some of the more obscure ones. But then there's some that I'm just like, I have no freaking clue what this character is. So I like to play these like this game with myself of like trying to figure out who it is. Great game. Great. And so now I'm moving on to, because I, other than Delta Force, I try and play kind of like a single player game, knock out some backlog stuff until Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, which is like my number one anticipated game coming up next. And I would say I have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So I have that because that got like 10 out of 10s when it came out. So that was a backlog item for me. So I wanted to go back and do that one, even though I know it's a really long game. And then I also have Sonic Shadow Generations, which I want to go through. That one I'm probably going to go through much slower and like over time because it's Sonic. I love a good Sonic game.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's like you have different maps or whatever, and then it's kind of a mix between the retro levels of 2D side scroller and then the newer 3D forward facing Sonic. And so you kind of switch back before those. So Sonic 3 coming out or having come out or in theaters, it was like, oh, Sonic, and it was this random gift that I got from work, which was so random. So I was happy to have it. They like gave me a list of like 5 items I could choose for Christmas bonus or whatever, and it was like a Ring doorbell, which I already have, so I was like, can't do that. So some like random crock pot or something, and then it was like Sonic Generations. I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. So I've been playing that one now too.
Quick question: I saw you playing Sonic yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought you were playing with your daughter. Was like, so the question is, have you introduced her to gaming? If not, what are you going to be introducing her to?
Yeah,
first?
that's a great question. So she loves to sit with me at my desk and type away at my computer or something like that. She's not. She can hold a controller, but she doesn't quite like. Yeah, obviously, she's only 2.
Not grasping the game.
Yeah. And the real thing though that's stopping us from like me trying to like get her to try stuff is her attention span. Right now, I can only hold her attention in something like that for like 5 to 10 minutes. Yep. But I think probably when she turns like 3. She'll probably have a better grasp of that stuff, and I can start bringing her onto things and playing games with her. But she will play Delta Force with me sometimes when I'm playing Warzone or Warfare mode. Yeah, because I'll bring my other keyboard out and then I'll put it, in front of my real one, and then she'll clack along on that one sitting on my lap while I'm playing the other mode. I have a funny picture. She's like so focused. She's like thinking that she's playing the Delta Force, but she just likes to think, because she knows like this is where I work, because I'll be like, Daddy's working or whatever. So she comes and she says if she's working. She doesn't realize that when we're playing games, it's different than me working. But she probably thinks they're the same thing. But so she's coming out and she's like, she'll be like, Mama, working. Mama, I'm working. And I'm like, she's like playing Delta Force, which is really funny. But yeah, I will for sure, once she's like shown interest, start, bringing her into the game sphere. But she's not quite there yet.
Awesome. I just saw you were playing. I was like, oh, he must be playing with his daughter. I was like, oh.
I know. If she would sit and watch, I would totally play with her, give her another controller or something like that. But no, she's a bouncy ball right now. When they're that young, they're just like, ooh, everything is like so interesting. Yeah, give her. Well, I know we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch too, but eventually, when she's like showing interest and is slightly old enough, I'll just give her my old Switch, and then I'll play on the Switch too. And she'll be like, hey, look, we can play like together. Or whatever, because she can kind of beat that thing up a little bit more. But all right, cool. Got any other anticipated, or is it just full on Delta Force?
It's full on Delta Force right now.
Hell yeah! I know we got to make a lot more Delta Force content for the channel. I'm gonna pull you in on that. So if you have any video ideas, let's roll. But now let's hear from the audience. It's time to ask Pixelated Realms, where we answer your questions and read your comments. If you'd like to join the conversation, head over to pixelatedrealms.org/ask, and let's dive into what you're curious about. So we got 4 questions, 3 of which are from Ralph. So we get to see your opinion live as well. But one is from the one, the only Sunshine Sam. Sam, always a pleasure to hear from you. So he says, "Hey y'all, I wanted to make a comment about the Call of Duty anti-cheat conversation you had a while back. That was from our last video. We talked about the Call of Duty anti-cheat system Ricochet." Okay, he says, "I think one of the issues of it being such a small team for Ricochet is that it's really only for Call of Duty. Activision doesn't have many current games. Looking at their own website, it's all Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk, and Call of Duty. I'm gonna editorialize a little bit here. Yeah, and Call of Duty is the only one that needs the anti-cheat. So really, the only one that needs anti-cheats is Call of Duty. I should have given him the benefit of the doubt. Look at me. Now that they're owned by them, Microsoft should be pouring money into a team that can create an anti-cheat that can be used across all their games. And you can't tell me that Microsoft doesn't have as much money as Epic Games, which seems to be doing a decent job with Fortnite." He has another question. He has an actual question underneath, but I want to comment on this. Yeah, I totally agree. Now that Activision is owned by Microsoft, they should have a company-wide anti-cheat. And Microsoft has some of the best engineers in the world. They could definitely put some oomph behind it, and I think that's a great strategy. We'll see if they do it or not, though. I mean, we have no idea what their plan is. I mean, they're all in on Game Pass, so maybe they make like a Game Pass level anti-cheat or something. But yeah, I think that would be great, because you're right. Like Call of Duty, smaller team, relative to an entire company. It makes it hard for them. It's putting a lot of stress probably on their engineers too. And, we will talk about Call of Duty as well. Ralph had a question about this next, so we'll dive, I think, a little bit deeper into that. Ralph, I know you got stuff to say, so hold on to it till the next question. So this is still Sam's question. So on to my question. Recently, I was reflecting on how nice it is to pause a game mid-cutscene, or not to have to wait for a save location in a JRPG. I remember leaving my PS1 on when I went to school or overnight, because I couldn't find a safe spot in Xenogear or Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, seriously, I remember that. Just praying my mom didn't turn it off, or a thunderstorm didn't cut the power, and I lose hours of my game. What game mechanic or quality of life thing in recent games have you liked the most, and what would you like to see that games still haven't done? As always, stay shiny, Sunshine Sam. Sam, always a pleasure to have you asking questions, and great question. So, yeah, so what quality of life do we like, and what do we think would, that still hasn't been done? Ralph, have you come to terms with your answer?
For me, I am. You talked about this a few times in previous videos, but I was heavy into Ghost of Tsushima, and actually one of the reasons why I stopped playing it was because they had a lack of quality of life updates. There was lots of exploits that people could utilize in Ghost of Tsushima, where you could climb the leaderboards faster with using some of these exploits. That's how I climbed the leaderboard. I'm not ashamed to say it. Everybody did it, but Sucker Punch didn't get rid of it. So it was kind of like, oh, they must enjoy these exploits because they're not doing anything to fix it. And basically everybody on the top of the leaderboard were so-called cheaters or exploit abusers. The reason why I stopped playing it was because it was just to the point where everybody was doing it. Everybody was learning it. And so it was just, there was nothing new coming out with some sort of fix to it, and the leaderboards ended up just becoming really, really toxic. Like, oh yeah, I'm number 1, you're like 15th or whatever, and it's just like, well, we also all cheated to get there, so know. So it's just like, all right, well, I'm done with this community. But they did finally release a new update, and it was for cross play compatibility, so I think that was really good, and they did address some of the exploits but not all of them. So I mean, good on Sucker Punch, especially considering that most of their focus was going towards the new Ghost of Yote game. Good for them. But as for quality of life for that game, one, if you take the exploits out of it, I think the game was already beautifully designed. I didn't feel like there was a lot of quality of life updates that were needed. But I will say one thing that they did that I really, really love was they gave you the ability to customize your games. And what I mean by that is, if you wanted it a more difficult challenge, they gave you like 7 different difficulties that you could pick from. And you could turn on and off like what types of debuffs you had against you, or what type of modifiers were used against you. And you could turn each one of them on and off. And so I thought that was really, really cool, because the game was stagnant for a while where, people were beating it at the hardest difficulty at the time. And so they were like, you want something harder? Well, here's 7 additional levels of difficultness to try. And I think that was one of the best things to ever come out of that game.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm excited to see where Yotai lands, and hopefully it has a Legends mode.
Yeah.
I would love a standalone Legends, to be honest. I would pay for that alone. I'd pay for both games.
I actually, for PlayStation, in the PlayStation Plus Pass, I think it's called, whatever their subscription model is called, they actually have it as 2 separate games. One of them was Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and one of them was just called Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, right? I mean, obviously, if you get the Director's Cut, you actually have Legends included, right? But you could actually just download Legends by itself in PlayStation. So maybe they will do a Legends mode. Also on Twitch as well, there's a separate category for Ghost of Tsushima Legends. And so maybe it is going to be its own standalone game. And that would be awesome because I would love a dedicated team to just handle that
mode. Yeah. That'd be awesome. For quality of life for me, so I think the most recent quality of life thing that I really enjoy is when because I like the platinum games that I like on the PlayStation, and so like hunting for collectibles has always been a fucking nightmare, especially if you like do a regular run through and then you collect like half of it and then you try and go back through and you don't remember what you've collected or not. So one of the like good quality of life things that I like is that like they'll show you like the shadow or the silhouette of where it used to be, so you collected it already, but you also know that that's where it would have been. Because it's like, then you second guess yourself. It's like, was it actually here? Or have I missed it? Or something like that. Or like a list of showing you what collectibles you've gotten already and things like that. Like, I played Astrobot recently. I was obviously talking about that. I platinum Astrobot. And one of the cool features they have is that once you beat a level once through, when you come back to it the second time, you could pay 200 coins, which is not that much, to unlock this little bird that follows you. And the bird will show you through the level where all the collectibles are. So it's like, it's nice because it's like, they're like, hey, like you gave it, a shot. But if you are missing one and it's like annoying, instead of going online and looking for it, here, just pay the 200 coins, run through the level with this bird. The bird will like, it kind of shows you like the direction of something with these little pulses. And then, you can kind of walk into it. And it's great. It's like, it respects my time a little bit because at a certain point you're like, I'm just going to look it up. Like they know I'm going to look it up, and so it's like they give you these options to do it in game, which is something I really like. Then what would I like to see in games that they haven't done? It's not really a game mechanic, but battle passes. I think that what I would like to see is being able to switch between battle passes, old ones and like the current one, because I would like, and I've talked about this numerous times on this podcast, this isn't new. I would like to be able to like buy an old battle pass. Maybe something happened and I'm just unable to complete it. I would like to be able to switch back to that, like select which battle pass I'm currently working on. So if like a new one comes and I want to do that one, I can buy that one, but the only one's active at the time. Only one game I know has actually done that, and that's Halo Infinite. And it was amazing. It was awesome because it was like I could switch between the battle passes, and it gave me a reason to come back and play the game for more than like it didn't. I know like the idea of time boxing a battle pass was supposed to keep people engaged, but honestly, being able to switch between the battle passes kept me more engaged because I'd be like, oh, I'm falling behind, so I'm going to play even more, try and like go and play these. And so it was like, it kept me like really in the game, but you just don't see that. And I don't know why, and I wish they would do that. So that's my gripe. If we're going to stay with the battle pass, which I already think is a flawed idea, I want to be able to switch between them. Cool. All right. Thank you, Sam. We really appreciate that question. That was a really good one. The next ones are from Ralph. So Ralph, I want to hear your, feel free to expand on it. And then, if you have your own answer to your own question. But so you wrote in and said, Call of Duty is in such a bad state right now, where every patch, update, release breaks a different part of the game. It also has its lowest player count, where players, including myself, had uninstalled the game and given up on it. I've also done that. I also uninstalled it. I'm a big Call of Duty guy too. What do you think is the key to earning the trust of the player base and returning to top form? Do they need to look at which one of their multiplayer game studios has the best numbers and just to stick to one studio, or are they done for? So this is such a good question, and honestly, I don't even know where to start. Call of Duty, like, the thing is with Call of Duty is they have that yearly, that annualized or semi-annualized release schedule, which I think is part of the problem. I think they have multiple studios working on it, which is fine to a degree, but like they're not different enough in a way. It's like they tried to stay like it's like half-assed. So they're like, okay, we want them to be the same game, even on the same platform. It's all Call of Duty now, but at the same time, they're like unique IPs, right? So it's like one's Black Ops and one's Modern Warfare, completely two separate games. I almost think that like they should treat them as completely separate entities if they're gonna go along that route and do it, and not this like, oh, they're both like very much Call of Duty. They both use the same like the same this and the same that. It's like, no, they should be like completely different games. Like this is, like don't even have the teams talk to each other, because otherwise they're just the same thing with a new skin, right? We don't want more of the same thing with a new skin. If we do want something new, we want something new. So I think that's part of the problem. I mean, and also it's like, how long can you run on the success of Call of Duty without iterating? They iterate very slowly in Call of Duty, right? Like in this new one, like the only difference was the Omni movement, right? That was like, I mean, there's probably other small little tiny things and stuff, but like, it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's not that cool. You know what I mean? It's like, is it $70 a year cool? I don't know. And I think a lot of the reputation of Call of Duty has been holding it up. It's because people buy it because they know people are going to be on that platform. You know what I mean? It's this kind of like self-fulfilling feedback of like, oh, it's popular because it's popular because it's popular.
Yeah.
And it's like, how long can that be sustained before they actually have to iterate, right? They've kind of fallen into this stale cycle of development where they don't push the envelope anymore. They do make it look pretty, like it looks great, and they've done a really good job of making the weapons feel good since the kind of Modern Warfare revamp. I'll kind of say like when the first remake of Modern Warfare came out, they kind of revamped the engine, and that was like really good. That was really fun, and they did a good job. And that's like what I kind of want every time, right? Is like that kind of level of like quality jump. But that's not really realistic. But since then, they haven't really done a lot. Like when they went from like Modern Warfare 2 to 3, like people are like, oh, this is like an expansion. Like it's not even a full game. And then when they went to Black Ops, I felt very much the same way. Like I felt like Black Ops actually was like a step back in a lot of ways and things. And like I liked like even the campaign, and I know the campaign is not where a lot of people go to play that game, but like the campaign, it had a lot of really fun things, but it also fell really flat for me. So it was like, I liked the idea of kind of being more of a spy, but like I think they could have pushed that even further and tied it into the story better. And I know that's probably controversial, so I'm not going to go too much further on that. But I just think there's a lot going on politically within the Call of Duty teams, especially after getting adopted by Microsoft. And I think that they're pressured to just make money and spit games out super fast. And so they have to sacrifice creativity for that, which is just a lot of AAA games are falling into that trap, right? It's like they get owned by companies like Embracer Group, and Embracer Group goes money, 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 faster, 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 faster. And these developers are like trying, but it's just not a sustainable cycle. And I don't have a solution. I don't have a good solution other than they should probably slow down. I think that they should do like a 3-year cycle, because like if they have like a 3-year cycle, they can focus on the games that are out and fixing them, as opposed to just, oh, we'll fix it in the next game, which means, oh, okay, then fuck it, I'm not going to buy this game. I don't know, Ralph, you asked the question. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to kind of oppose you at some point. I
love that.
I would feel like they actually already do have a 3-year cycle. And the reason why I say that is because there's 3 different studios that make the base game of Call of Duty, and then Raven makes Warzone. So each company, I think it's Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward are the 3, right? Each one, they're on like a 2 or 3 year cycle, and then they get to make the next game. Because if Infinity Ward makes one game, the next game is going to be made by Treyarch, and then Sledgehammer, or I think the order is wrong. But they basically have a 3-year cycle until their next game. And so I would argue that they do have 3 years in between each game. The problem is, in my opinion, is that Call of Duty wants to build on the next, like they want to build on the previous game, and you can't do that if it's two different developers, because the developers want to introduce their unique IP, right? Their unique thing. Like Omni Movement was unique to, I believe it's Treyarch that did it, and so they want to introduce their own thing, but it's not for the previous game. They had to build this game ground up, essentially, Black Ops 6, because none of it is the same as Modern Warfare 3 and things like that. And so I think it's because you have too many cooks in the kitchen, essentially.
Yeah.
None of them are working together to essentially make the next game. Now, luckily, next year is actually going to be the first year in a long time where it's the same studio who made Black Ops 6 is also going to be the same studio who brings out the next game. And so we'll see if it's better. I don't know if it will because of how many issues that they're still currently having with the current game. But I am excited I will be excited for Call of Duty 2026 because that is back to Infinity Ward and they are in charge of the Modern Warfare series. And that's a series that I really enjoyed was the Modern Warfare 1 and 2. 3, not so much. It was, like you said, it was more of an expansion, but they've had a reliable leaker say that Modern Warfare 2026 is going to be based off of the Modern Warfare 3 and 9. So hopefully, that gets them back into the promised land of being like the top-notch. And I'm not saying they're not the top-notch, like, FPS game, because I'm sure they are, but it just doesn't feel like it with how their quality of life is for their games as of right now. But yeah, I just think there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and that 1 year time frame of building a game from ground up just isn't the right recipe for how many cooks you guys have in the kitchen.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when I meant like 3-year cycle, I meant like spacing it out by that. Yeah, so it'd be like each team would have like 6 years or more or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think they need to consolidate. I would agree. I would like to see just one team, even if that team was working on 2 of the games simultaneously and like internally split, but having the studio consolidated to one studio so that they are like cross talking to each other. But as opposed to like, having to cross, studio boundaries, which, is probably difficult. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Call of Duty is going to have to do some reevaluating if they want to stay top. I think they have a lot of leeway. I think they have a lot of like margin for error, but I think their runway is, getting smaller and smaller. So they got to do something. Next question. So we got another 2 questions. So both from Ralph. So GTA Online has been around for 10 plus years now. And when GTA 6 releases, do you think they will update GTA Online to reflect the new map? Or do you think they will continue to support GTA Online as a GTA 5 game? If the latter, how long do you think they will keep GTA 5 servers up? Predictions on if currency can be transferred. Good question. I think GTA 6 is going to be its own online game. I think they'll keep 5 going for a while, for like a long time, probably like a long time. I think they'll keep that as a separate entity. And then I think GTA 6 will be like the new GTA Online. And I think it's going to be, and the reason I think that is because I think they're building GTA 6 from the GTA 5 Online was added like a year or so later, right? It was kind of like a plus, like an addition. GTA 6, I'm pretty sure they're probably building with online built in. I think that they're going to blur the lines between the online mode and the offline mode is my guess. And I think that they're going to support that in full. So I don't think they're going to ditch GTA 5. It's too much of a moneymaker and there's too much of a community already there. But I think they're going to try and start transferring people over. I don't think that you're going to be able to like transfer currency or anything. I don't think there's going to be any overlap. I think it's going to be its own standalone world. But I think it's going to be like, 2.0. It's the new version of it. What do you think?
One more question for you. Do you think it's going to be cross-platform progression compatible? Because GTA 5 Online was not. If you had a Rockstar account through your PlayStation and you had one on like, let's say on your PC, like through Steam, even though it was the same email, even though it was the same account, your progression did not save. Your currency, your world did not save.
Yeah.
And so do you think that's going to be a big thing that they fix?
question.
Because PC, I don't think it's launching in 2026. I think it's only the console versions that are launching later this year in 2025.
Yeah, console.
And so do you think, I'm a PC player, but I'm going to get it on console because I just want to play it right off the bat, right? And so do you think it's going to be one of those things where they allow you to transfer your stuff?
Good question. And you know, that kind of falls back to Sam's question about quality of life stuff. Things that I like in recent games is cross-play, cross-progression.
Yeah.
It's like now it feels like a game feels empty without it, right? Like you almost you like expect it. You're like, oh, this game doesn't have cross-progression. Like what the hell? Like what? You know, cross saves or anything. That's a good question. I don't know. I would think so. I would think because it's Rockstar. They like to do everything like full blown, right? So if it's industry standard, they do it usually. But I would like to say, I think they will have, I don't think they will have cross play. I think that the PC community and the PC, you know
They
what?
just like
Actually,
modding too much.
yeah, I think it's because they like the mod. I think, honestly, I think they're just too different in that kind of a realm, which makes me think actually then cross progression is probably a no. So I'm actually going to say no. I'm going to say no to both because I think that Rockstar likes to keep them separate. I think console and PC are like two completely separate worlds for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the way, because like you said, like mods and things like that, like I think that the PC version is just so different. But maybe, you know, I switched between my answers there, so I'm not sure. It's a good question. I don't know. A lot of good.
I have a feeling that they won't do the cross progression just because, to your point, PC and the consoles are so different. Hence why the PC version's probably delayed. And it's not launching in 2025. I hate to see it. I'd hate all of my efforts on console to just go to waste. But, you know, Rockstar is going to get another sucker by getting me to buy it twice, you know? So, yeah, it's a bummer. But kind of on a different tangent, I actually, going back to Delta Force, I actually just filled out a survey about cross-play and progression. They were asking people for their feedback because they're working on getting Delta Force on the consoles, and they were like, what's more important to you, cross-play compatibility or cross-progression? And I said cross-play is more important than cross-progression, because I'm not going to play on PlayStation or Xbox. I'm just going to keep playing on my PC, but I want to be able to play with my friends that are on PlayStation and don't have a PC. And so I really like that they're listening to their community and asking for their feedback, and so hopefully they do right and, you know, give us the cross-play and whatnot. But yeah, going back to GTA, I wish, there's a lot of things that we wish, but it's ultimately up to Rockstar at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Next question, and this next question is a good segue into our final topic here. So Nintendo Switch 2 was announced. No details really confirmed by Nintendo, but do you think they will finally support 4K HDR gaming? So I'm going to use this, instead of answering the question, I'm going to use this to tangent over into our, you know, Switch 2 discussion. Before we dive in, though, we want to say we really appreciate those who have followed, subscribed to us. We would really appreciate it if you went ahead and just hit the subscribe and or the like button. We post new episodes every Tuesday on podcast services and on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and Pixelated Realms. I'm sorry, at Pixelated Realms Podcast. So let's talk about Switch 2. Let's dive right in. So I actually wanted to start this off with, and I will answer your question, but I haven't actually watched the trailer video. I've looked up the specs and I've heard on like other podcasts and stuff the like you know what it was, but I haven't actually fully watched the video. So I'm gonna watch it right now, and I'll describe and react to it. So it's only 2 minutes long. So
it's so satisfying. I'm surprised you haven't watched it.
I know, I've heard that. I heard the music is really good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, you're not gonna be able to hear me watching the video, but I'll try and discuss it as I'm going along. So okay, they're showing the original Switch, the blue and red Switch showing here. No music. Okay, it's falling apart. Screen's bigger. Okay, made a bigger screen, really sexy bevel. Basically just showing that it's really sleek. USB-C on the bottom, USB-C on the top. Beautiful. Full stand in the back from like the whole bottom is the stand as opposed to a little kickstand. Oh, that's nice. Okay, Joy-Cons. Bigger. Sleeker. Smooth looking. I don't know what this means. Okay, it's got like color accents on it, like the red and the blue, but it's mostly black, which looks really like slim and sleek. Cool. And I heard they got the new Holofax joysticks, so no more drift.
No more drifts.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. They have a mouse mode, so you can use it like a mouse, and then they just click it's directly on the side with magnets, as opposed to sliding down onto it. Clack, so it goes clack instead of click now. Okay, so now they're showing all the little details. Oh, Mario Kart. So I heard 24 player races. All right, the dock. The dock has like this like really intense rounded edge. And you can actually see like a little bit of the top of the Switch, which would be kind of cool. All right, they're showing more Mario Kart. 2025. Let's see. Nintendo Switch exclusive games. Yeah, so it looks bigger, looks nicer. All right, that was it. I'm done now. But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it looks really good. It was just a sneak peek, right? So they haven't even announced like the official release date yet. They were just this is basically the trailer that said, "Hey, this is real, and this is what's different from the original Switch." And it looks like everything that we would like want, right? Like usually Nintendo does completely does like 180s on their consoles, like from one to the other, but they just are like, hey, this is like an upgraded, better Switch. This is the Switch everybody wanted, which honestly I think is the right move. Like I think everybody enjoyed the Switch. It's they nailed it. And so it's like just making it bigger, better, even better than the Switch Pro or whatever, the OLED.
OLED,
is the right move to do, and I think it's going to sell gangbusters, honestly.
Personally, I think that the original Switch, was the most innovative like gaming console to come out, maybe even like of all time, or at least since handheld gaming was introduced. Right, it was just such a step to go from being able to dock or having like a stationary device and then picking it up, kind of like to Sam's point earlier. You can pick up right where you left off, right? Like you don't have to save or anything. You just pick it up and have it in handheld mode, pick up where you left off. That was one of the most innovative gaming devices, in my opinion. Switch 2 coming out. Will it have 4K HDR? Because even the OLED one was only, what was it, 1080p? And so, like 4K gaming has been a thing for a while now, probably around like 5+, maybe even longer than that years, where it's just been the industry standard. And so why Nintendo hasn't adapted the 4K, capabilities, is beyond me. I mean, given that their games probably don't need it.
They probably don't support it, to be honest. Like,
yeah, they probably don't support it.
The original Switch, I would imagine the reason they didn't do the jump to 4K and the OLED is because, one, they probably had power limitations based off of like the dock and stuff like that. But I also think that the games, like the development for that, they would have to like artificially upscale to 4K, because I don't think any of them were developed for 4K.
Yeah,
well, like the native ones, not the ones that were ported over.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's probably a lot of issues with that. So I would think, now that this is a Switch 2, right? It's like a major version bump. I would think that they would have 4K. I don't know about HDR. I would hope, but I would think at 4K or at least 2K, minimum, would be on this. And of course, I mean, so they haven't announced anything. According to leakers, though, leakers think that it will be a 4K screen. Unknown about OLED. I kind of doubt it in the first iteration. I would love to see a 4K HDR OLED screen as the default. That would be like that would be beautiful. I would buy it day one, even though I mean I might buy it day one anyways. But I like. Well, actually, that brings up a question for me too, because I've been debating. Like, I like my Switch. I don't play it like all the time, though. I play it like once in a blue moon, or once in a blue moon when a Nintendo game releases that really like hits for me. Like, like when Odyssey came out, I played that one.
Odyssey,
like like here or there, or if I'm like going to some place like that I know I could bring a party game, maybe I'll bring it. But like I don't play it like on the daily. And so it makes me think of like, actually, am I going to get this on day one? And I don't know yet. I'm not convinced. I mean, Mario Kart alone isn't enough for me to want to buy it. So it depends on the lineup, and it depends. If it was 4K OLED, I would probably get it day one, because I know I would get it eventually, and I, might as well just get it. And then if it's not OLED, like I would almost wait the like 2 or 3 whatever years until they come out with like the Pro version.
I would say if a big enough game were to be released at launch, let's say like Legend of Zelda, right? If a new Legend of Zelda came out and it was a Switch 2 exclusive, they wouldn't do that, obviously, because so many people still have Switch. But if they
Yeah.
did have, a new Legend of Zelda, not the one where you play as Zelda in like the chibi art form, but like a new Legend of
Yeah.
Zelda where you need a Link, right? I would maybe get it on day one just because that is a game that I really, really enjoy. But to your point, Mario Kart maybe isn't enough. Because what is a Switch? A Switch is essentially a party console. You play it with your friends. They made it a point with the controllers being like
Yeah. Like each
elevated
one's
on
its
the
own.
side. When you're holding it like horizontally, they like raise the bumpers, right? And so they make it a point to essentially play with other people. Because if you're playing by yourself, you're gonna have it like hooked up into like the controller dock, right? The whole point of raising the side bumpers are not for single players. So that's another thing that I kind of have a issue with. I really enjoyed the sliding when you slide them from,
Yeah. Click.
when you click it. This being magnetic, I don't know if you saw, but there's like a little clip inside, right? That
Mm-hmm.
like holds it. What if
Mm-hmm.
that breaks? Is your whole Switch dead, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I wonder like how like are they gonna pop out? Like if I
Exactly.
like kind of move it too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a little skeptical on that. I'm hoping I know it's magnetic. Oops. I know it's magnetic, but like I wonder if that little thing that holds it is like strong, you know?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
there might
make a
be a
good
lock.
point.
There might be a lock, right? Kind of like how there's a lock to, like when you
Yeah.
slide it down, you can't just slide it back up without pressing the lock. So there may be that, but you know, how many times with how skinny that little holder thing is, that little chip is, the reader, like how skinny that is, like how easy is it to, accidentally jam the controller in and then break it?
Yeah.
So I don't
We'll
know.
have to see. Yeah. I mean in the coming months they're gonna do more, they said,
Yeah.
and they're gonna show more about it. People are gonna get hands on finally. So like we'll
Mhm.
start hearing what people have to say about it.
I think
Um
in April, right? Like that's when the Nintendo
mhm.
event typically is in around April, March, April. And if I read something, I think I read something where they're actually going to host an event. And they have a sign up sheet right now. If you have a free Nintendo account, you can sign up to go to this event live. And they have the Switch 2 available for people to try out. So I think it's coming out pretty soon. I would be surprised to see if it comes out no later than like a summertime release, maybe May.
Yeah.
Um, that might be a good time after their Nintendo Direct, like 1 month later. Hey, here's the Switch 2 release date. Um, do you know of anything? When did the Switch originally launch?
Ooh.
That's a good question. Like that might be a good time frame of when they would launch.
That's a good question. March
Okay.
2017. March 2017. So yeah, I mean that's not like that's I think though that I think they pushed that up due to COVID. So like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's my guess. Because that was right when COVID was started.
Yeah.
Or no.
It was
Sorry.
before. It was
No,
it
no,
was
no.
before
Sorry. 2017. I'm thinking of Animal Crossing. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of
Animal
Animal
Crossing.
Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3 years before COVID. No. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that a summertime release, I would be like May, June, July kind of era. I think
Mhm.
that's where it's going to be. I think they're going to do a lot of PR stuff up until that point, and then I think they're going to drop it. And I saw online that they have more. They manufactured more units this time, so they're not going to have the same problem as
Where it's
the
sold out.
Great Scare. Yeah, fucking scalpers, dude.
Yeah.
You're a scalper.
Scalpers.
Go fuck yourself. Get
Yeah.
off my goddamn podcast. I'm talking to you, Dustin,
Oh,
my
he does
co-host.
have the
No, I mean he doesn't buy like 50 of them, but like if he buys something that goes up
Yeah.
in price, he'll sell it again.
Yeah.
So he knows I hate it. Yeah, I mean I'm excited. I'm excited to see what games they release. I think that really is gonna make or break the launch of this thing. I don't think they're gonna announce a Zelda this year.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening. But as somebody, I'm in the minority here, but I did not like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And so I know. I just didn't. I just found it super boring. And if they came out with a new I would hope that if it's a Zelda, just for me personally, selfishly, like I would want a completely new reimagination. And because I do think that they're gonna do a new Zelda every single year. I think, but I don't think it's going to be like a big major release. I think it's going to be like they're going to do the little ones, like you said, like the chibi art or like the sides, like top down kind of ones, and then they'll do like a major one every couple of years or whatever. So, or like a remake or whatever, because there's rumors of like an Ocarina of Time remake or maybe a Majora's Mask remake. So I think we'll be getting those throughout the life cycle of this Switch, but I don't think it'll be coming this year. I think the highest chance of like a big title would be Metroid Prime. They've been working on that one since the Switch 1 for over 10 years now, probably almost 15, I don't even know, but long time. And so I could see them dropping Metroid Prime day and date. I could see them doing Mario Kart, maybe a Mario Party. I mean, there has to be another Mario title, right? At least
There has
announced.
to be.
I don't know if it'll like drop the same as like a launch title, but I think it'll be in the launch window. Because like I would think like they'd be like, okay, here's the Switch 2, and in 6 months, here's a new Mario whatever game, Mario Galaxy 7 or whatever, 3, 4, I don't know what number it is, but like something like that.
Well, when the Switch launched, didn't Odyssey come out with it?
I don't remember if it launched with it or if it was like right after, but it was pretty close.
But it was pretty close. And so maybe an Odyssey 2.
October. So it was like 6 months later.
Yeah.
Ish.
I
could 7 months.
They need to have some sort of Mario game where it's not like Mario Kart or something like that. Also, there needs to be a new Pokemon game. Just saying.
Yeah. And a real one.
Yeah, a real Pokemon game. But yeah, I'm excited for the Switch 2. Obviously, I probably won't get it launched, but definitely something worth having. I mean, for you, you have sort of a reason. Like, I think you were mentioning that you would give your Switch over to your daughter, let her play with that, let her abuse that, right? And then you get the Switch 2. I think that's really great. Both my partner and I already have a Switch. And so it's just like, well, all right, what do we do? Do we need to make the upgrade? Probably not, unless, what's the real difference? I also want to know the last thing that I'll say is the screen going to have like a high refresh rates? Because from what I've heard, Microsoft was trying to release some of their IPs over to PlayStation as well as Nintendo, such as like Halo and things like that. Obviously, you don't want to play Halo on a slow refresh rate screen or things like that. So will it support, high refresh rates or high FPS games? So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, but there's a lot of technical questions. So it's like they answered the big question, whether or not it exists, what's it called? I think that the reason that this hit, it was like a good announcement, but at the same time, we're like, it's been leaking. So everyone's kind of like, oh, like it just, the leaks were correct, right? It wasn't like this like big mind-blowing announcement. And so now everybody is like, we're all asking like, okay, what are the tech specs? What are the tech specs? Because this is the information we don't have. We already knew it existed. Now we know it's bigger, it's better. We expected that. The mouse mode was cool. I didn't know about that. So it's like if you take the Joy-Con and you turn the like click side down, it acts like a mouse. That way, so you could play games like I would assume like Civilization or whatever RTSs and stuff. Maybe even shooters. I can't imagine that's like great to play. Like it's probably not like perfect, but I'm sure it's good enough.
You're riding on the Joy-Con essentially, right? Like
does that damage it? Like I don't even know.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, we got to know the tech specs. Yeah, the Switch 1 was 60 hertz, so that's, at least we know it'll be 60.
Yeah.
Will it be 120? I don't know, or even maybe 90 or something, which is kind of an odd number. But like, 120 or 144 would be cool, but I doubt it because that's
an actual screen
Nintendo
at that point. Yeah.
Nintendo's MO is always technically behind a little bit, so they can be a little more affordable and more kid friendly, but we'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna get it day one. I think I'll probably end up getting it at the end of the year because what'll happen is like somebody will gift it, like my wife or something will gift it to me for like the holidays. Is likely where I'll end up getting it. I don't think I'm gonna buy it myself unless they come out, and like it really comes down to like we said, those launch titles. If there's something that it's just like a system seller, then I'm like, ooh, how can I miss out on this? I got to do it, but until then, we'll see. I'm happy with my PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have my Portal. So,
oh yeah, dude, I still want to get Katie a Portal. But for me, when it comes down to, yes, the game launches, but also does Costco have a good bundle?
So true. Get that 2-game bundle. Exactly. Get Metroid Prime, bundle. Mario Kart bundle. But yeah, I mean, our answer. We got answers and it's just spawned more questions, right? Yeah. They have to they're going to release the tech specs at some point. It's probably in April, which seems so far away. Like, they are like, oh, hey, we announced. I mean, and I know why they announced it so early, right? So, I mean, relatively early, but earlier than the release date, right? They haven't announced the release date or the specs, but it's because they've been leaking, right?
Yeah.
They're like, listen, we need all these companies that we've been doing business with, like around manufacturing peripherals and stuff like that. They need the option to finally just be able to post their shit online. Like, they need to be able to post these like pre-orders. And so they're like, we gotta get the name out there. We gotta get the specs out there, because people are just, we're starting to work with these companies and it's leaking. We just got to get it out. So that's what this is. And I'm not surprised that they did this, but it just, like I said, more questions I want to see, but it's going to make for a good holiday. It's always fun when you can get a console for the holidays. So, And
is this going to launch the new, like, next console wave, right?
Right.
Is Xbox and PlayStation going to follow suit?
Let's see. How the PlayStation 5 came out when?
It's typically around a 7 to 8 year cycle before they release the next one. And then, like, I think it's like 3 to 4 for the Pro version, right? So we're right around that mark, around 2026. Might be the year for.
Could be. I'm probably more inclined to think it's going to be 27, 28.
27, 28.
But just because it's like the Pro just came out, and where do you go from there? Is it just better? Is it just more? Is it just faster? Do we just get native 4K? Do we get better ray tracing, better GPU, faster, everything? It's like, I don't think we need it. Like, I'm very happy with my PS5. Like, I think the games look great. I think they run great. So I think they're going to, and they have said that the PlayStation's in its like later end of its cycle, but it's like, if they take a little bit longer and wait for, AI or whatever technology to get better, and then they wait for just a little bit of a hardware bump, it's like, what, they can show the gap between the two more significantly, because like one of the problems with the PlayStation Pro was that they showed them side by side and people were like, I could barely tell the difference. Like, sure, maybe it's like a bush rendered a little nicer or something, but it's like hard to tell. It's not something you would notice. And so the longer they wait, the bigger that gap is going to become, and the more noticeable the contrast will be. So I think they're going to wait it out just a smidge.
One thing we forgot to mention about the Switch 2, sorry for running over, but the backwards compatibility. It has Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, but you can also play Nintendo Switch, like the base one,
original,
on there as well, both digital and physical. So that's going to be great. Yeah.
And I think that's just the way things are now. I think that given the way that software architecture has evolved since, the heydays of when you would compile for a specific CPU, and, it's like backwards compatibility is just expected. And I think it's a good move. And, I think that, the consoles are so similar, I don't see any reason not to do that. And I think it's a good idea. And I would go and say is like 99% of the games are going to be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a very few selection of games, and I'm not counting all the ported ones, because there are going to be certain ported games that are just going to be like only can run because of power reasons. But I think Nintendo native games, I think, are almost all going to come to both at first, until whenever the Switch 1 gets like end of life. But that'll be a while.
Yeah.
But excited to see it. Can't wait to see what the tech specs are, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it a lot more. So thank you all for listening. Wrapping up with the Switch 2 discussion. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be notified when we post new episodes. We post new episodes every Tuesday on podcast services and on YouTube. You can also find us on social media, on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.